Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. You're listening to Right Side Up. My name is Mike Taglavia, and today I have two guests. We have Stephanie Mack and Rebecca Petrie from Vermont Federation of Republican Women. There's going to be an event here just outside of Barrie at the Canadian Club on February 15th. And they asked to come on and talk about, number one, the event, and Vermont Federation of Republican Women. So I'm not sure which of you ladies would like to go first. Rebecca, I think if you want to try, go ahead.
Sure. Yeah, thank you for having us on. And before I talk about the event, I'd just like to say the Vermont Federation of Republican Women is a great organization for women with Republican ideals and conservative feelings. And if you feel that you want to get involved with righting the wrongs in our state, this is a great way to jump in and get your feet wet. We have you can go to our website, vfrw.net, and you'll see there's a lot of, it's a big mission field. And whatever your time, whatever your talents are, there is a place for you here. You might want to make cookies for an event, or you might want to be, big time in running the event. Whatever it is, we can use your time and your talents, and you'll be doing something to help perpetuate conservative ideals in Vermont.
Well, question: have you found that you've gotten a bunch of people who identify as independents, but they're so fed up with the direction of the state that you found that people wanted to join anyway?
I can tell you myself, I'm relatively new to the organization, so I wouldn't be a good one to answer that.
Okay.
Maybe one of the Stacy Malloy, who's the president now, would know, but that I couldn't tell you.
Well,
Stephanie,
I can tell you, for me, I've run into a number of supporters, a large number of supporters who are former Democrats who saw behind the curtain. They saw the direction things were going, and they saw that as traditional Democrats, they were being ignored by the Democrat Party in favor of progressivism, and that's why they left the party. And some of my most staunch supporters are former Democrats. That's the reason why I asked the question. So
my only comment to that is the fact that I think because the word Republican is in the name, it scares people away.
Oh, yeah, I can understand that.
I do know I have most of my friend group are probably, I'd say, people who are purple at this point. They often use the line, the Democratic Party left me, I didn't leave the Democratic Party.
We have a lieutenant governor and a Senate minority leader who said those exact same things numerous times during their last campaign. So it's happening a lot. It's happening actually more and more, especially after we see what's going on, not just in the state, but countrywide and worldwide, really.
So I think we're gaining a lot of traction just because now we've been out there a couple years, and we're starting to do a lot more public events, public venues. And I see people starting to come in from all over the state because we're now have our website up at vfrw.net, and we're able to direct those inquiries to something where people can take a look and see what's going on. Eventually, we'll have kind of our mission statements on the website. Right now, we literally just launched it like 3 weeks ago. So we're still working on that part. But I do speak to a lot of friends, and I'll just casually say, like, why don't you come to a meeting? Like, what you just said to me just says Republican. And they kind of look like a little scared. And I'm like, it's okay.
Well, no, Republicans,
everything's going to be fine. But I'm starting to see a younger crowd start to be more attentive, listening, asking questions. Those mid-30 somethings are starting to realize that they're having their own businesses, and it's really financially difficult to try to survive running your own business. So they're starting to wake up and ask more questions, and I'm just starting to see a lot more women just sort of, I'd say, turn purple. That's the closest word I could say to it.
Well, so there are a lot people who consider themselves moderates are deciding that the word Republican is not something you need to run from,
Right.
even though the demonization has been there for years.
Right.
Okay, so I completely get that. Now, what about outreach and searching for candidates? Is that something that your organization is looking to do?
Yeah, that's a big part of it.
Okay.
We
Okay.
need to, you work at the State House, we need to get
Well,
get a lot of that out of there.
We're
and get-
focusing on
Yeah.
our event right now up through
Right.
February 15th. As soon as that large event is done, then we're going to be getting a task force together to start
Okay.
the phone call campaign. We don't. One of our small goals is that we don't want to leave any seat without a Republican candidate.
Right.
There were too many ballots where it's just going uncontested, and that's like a no-go in our world. So we're
Can't
trying
win
to
if you don't show up to the
Correct.
game.
So that's one of our small goals, is to make sure we got a name on every ballot.
Yep.
And then one of our larger goals is we have lists of names of the Republicans, females in the state, and it's literally has to be a one-to-one phone call conversation, getting
Right.
people to know that we're there. Would you like to join the group? Support our our events, and have you thought about running and
Yeah.
continue that conversation? That is going to be our goal, and I know we have our group is probably going to be voted on this coming. I think it's the 7th. We have a meeting.
Yes.
Saturday the 7th.
Okay.
In case anybody wants to attend that meeting at McGillicuddy's in Colchester. But then we're going to form a group, and we're going to say, okay, who are the, let's say, 5, 6 folks that are going to start the outreach until we
Okay.
get started.
Okay. Great. Great. So, why don't you tell us a little bit more about the event you're going to be having? How did you come up with the idea? And I know there's going to be some raffles, some merch being given away. So, just describe the event for the listeners so they can decide. Hopefully, a lot of them decide they want to show up at the Canadian Club.
Well, Stephanie can probably tell you more about how they came to the idea of it, but I will tell you about some great merch. My brother-in-law, Joe Mattis, who's just got a great heart and very giving, he has worked with the Earnhardt family for over 30 years. He's
Okay.
the senior vice president of Junior Motorsports in business and
Oh, wow.
strategy.
Okay.
And so when he heard that I had joined this group and what we were doing, he was so encouraged and sent up some great things for us we're going to raffle that evening and also sell. And then we're also having eBay auctions as
Okay.
well. And so a few of the things, like there's a Dale Jr. autographed replica full-size racing helmet. It was the 2017, I want to get it right, number 88 HMS Chevrolet Justice League race. There's 4 pit suits that were worn by Junior Motorsports pit crew members, and some of those are going to be for sale at that night, and others are going to be on the eBay
Okay.
auction. We have T-shirts and hats and things like that, and so I was very excited to be a part of this, so I could bring what I have to the table and to help.
Great.
But as far as how the rest of the function, how it started, I don't know. Stephanie could probably.
Just really quick to recap, all of our venues that we do are fundraisers, and we get a lot of questions because we're VFRW, Vermont Federation of Republican Women. We get the first question is, can men attend? And of course, they're just fundraisers.
Okay.
And so want to make sure we clear the air on that. And also to say that National Federation for Republican Women is a national group, and we are just the chapter for the state of Vermont.
Gotcha.
So
Okay.
that's how we transpired, and we're the Vermont chapter. We did a very large fundraiser that was very successful last year at the Williston Catamount Club, which was the Kentucky Derby party.
Oh,
so
okay.
that was great. Well
Okay.
received.
Yeah, I was at that
We
event.
really sold out. We were pretty at the max, so we're gonna have to see about tickets this year. That we did so well at, we decided to do another one kind of opposite time of year to sort of kick off the year. And we wanted to do something in the winter, in February, and timing wise, it just sort of fell into place. We wanted to do a not so fancy event, but more of just a different flavor, just to
Right.
get different people coming to the event so we could appease to all of our audiences out there.
Right.
So we decided to do chili. I'll name off a couple of things that we're doing, but basically We have a chili cook-off going on and a $250 prize for a chili cook-off. We have, for every ticket bought, you get entered to win a $250 cash door prize. We also have the merchandise that Rebecca was mentioning. We have a smart TV raffle. And I think what's not listed on the site as where we're having a line dance person to come in to teach line dance and do a round of line dancing because there's a great dance floor at the
Canadian Club.
Canadian
Yeah.
Club. So that was, everybody said, yeah, let's do it. So it should be a pretty fun day. We're looking forward to it.
That's great. That's great. So, getting back to candidates and women as candidates, there are a lot of business women out there. I personally don't care if you want to be a Republican candidate. I don't care who you are. If you have, especially if you have a business background, okay, because we're a state that's got so much the regulatory environment is so incredibly overwhelming. That coupled with the taxation in general, somebody who wants to be a candidate, male or female, I would love to have, because bringing that business background, that experience that you've had dealing with the state of Vermont and permitting and regulation in general, I think would be a huge plus. Because, going out on the campaign trail and explaining to people what it's like to try to stay in Vermont, pay all your bills with respect to if you have an S Corp or something, and then have to pay on the personal level. And then, like we talked about, I think before we started airing, you have to find ways to pay for your health insurance if you want health insurance. Do you want your business to grow and have employees? Well, if you want employees, you're going to have to try to entice them to be an employee of yours and not go to a competitor. So healthcare is one of those things. So all of these things that make Vermont so expensive to live in and do business in, this is why I stress the business background. Or, there are some former state employees who do get involved and become candidates, and they have an advantage also because they've seen it from the other side. So
Well, honestly, I might get shunned for saying this, but I think that's why Trump got in, because he had a business background.
There's a lot of...
And so, when you understand the makings and how we've got to make money and how everybody's got to make good on this, it's a totally different mindset. And I think that's what I agree. That's kind of what's needed to write things.
There are. And, I have to say there are some moderate Democrats, actually one or two still in the House up in Montpelier, in the General Assembly, who I actually talk to occasionally, and they're in business and they understand. The arm twisting is the difficult part. The arm twisting is incredible that I hear from some of the members. And, these are people who know better. They've been in business. They're trying to grow their business. They're trying to keep their employees and keep them in health care and wages that keep them not just barely above water, but to a point where they can raise families and not just work here, but actually retire here. So there are a lot of people who understand this. And, somebody made mention to me yesterday or Saturday. I was at a snowmobile, an old iron snowmobile rally in Washington. It was a great event. It was a huge turnout. And somebody said, you know what? We should get rid of the party affiliation on the ballot. We should have it so that everybody has to do their own research into the candidate. And I kind of think that's a good idea, because right now we have people who will go and just down the line, they'll list for one ballot over another. And to me, that makes no sense. It makes no sense, because I know when I talk to people out there, I can find common ground with a lot of people. I don't care what your affiliation is. And if we were to do that, remove the party affiliation, have one ballot, and force people to do pre-print it, the demonstration ballot, pre-print it so people can look at it and do their own research. Who is this guy?
And I'm wondering if it isn't more of the older generation. Like, I'm 65, and people older, we just kind of, I've always been Republican, I've always been Democrat, blah, blah, blah. They don't And I think we're to blame for a lot of that.
We are, but we can fix it.
Yeah.
Like I said in my testimony this past week, we've made mistakes. We're all just human, right?
Exactly.
We've made mistakes, but we know how to fix them if we have the integrity to admit we made them.
Right, right.
Unfortunately, ladies and gentlemen, we come to the end of our first segment. We'll return in a couple of minutes. You're listening to Right Side Up, and I want to thank our guests, Stephanie Mack and Rebecca Petrie from Vermont Federation of Republican Women. Don't forget, February 15th, their NASCAR event at the Canadian Club in Barrie. Thank you. We'll be right back.
From your logo to your look, Yipes brings your brand to life. Need custom shirts, eye-catching signs, or full-color vehicle graphics? The crew at Yipes have you covered with screen printing, embroidery, full vehicle wraps, and all your custom designs that make your logo stand out anywhere. And when it's time to take care of your ride, Yipes, Berry & Bevan & Sons is your go-to for remote car starters, spray-on bed liners, auto accessories, and general maintenance that keep your car fine-tuned and looking sharp. Yipes, Berry & Bevan & Sons. Local, creative, and ready to serve. Visit us at 439 North Main Street or give us a call at 802-479-0055.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. You're listening to Right Side Up. My name is Mike Taglavia. Before we get back into our discussion, I just want to remind all our listeners, if for some reason you can't catch us on WNTK Radio, go to WNTK.com. Click on the podcast button. Scroll down and find Right Side Up. You can listen to any number of our shows. You can share it any time of the day or night. You can share it or listen to it. You can find us on Podbean. You can find us on GraniteGrock.com. You can also find us on 802 Scoop Facebook and 802 Scoop YouTube. Two things I want to remind our listeners once again. Let me see if I can find it here. Vermont Federation of Republican Women, VFRW.net, having their NASCAR event on February 15, 2026 at 2 to 6 p.m. at the Canadian Club in Barrie. There is also another event that I would like for people to consider, Children's Health Day at the Vermont State House, Tuesday, February 3. And guess what? It's going to be the first day that this particular show airs. The schedules, the way it is now, is 11 a.m. There will be a press conference and a rally. Noon to 1, there's a meet and greet in the cafeteria. 1 p.m., Mary Holland from Children's Health Defense will be providing testimony. And 2 to 3:30, there'll be an informational event. So people who are concerned about children's health, you might want to come to the State House, check it out. That's on February 3rd, which is, like I said, coincidentally, the first day of airing of this show. So I want to get back into a little bit more talk about H767 and a little bit more of the information that I think that backs up the need for H767. Let's see. Number 17, Lombard advocates for investing in research and development for cheaper green energy alternatives rather than subsidies and mandates that drive up energy prices, as current climate policies have spent trillions, including $4 trillion globally, without making renewables competitive, emphasizing smarter approaches to respect private property rights and reduce fees on Vermonters. B, the purpose of this act is to impose an 8-year moratorium on the implementation and enforcement of 2023 Acts and Resolves number 59, 2024 Acts and Resolves number 181, the Global Warming Solutions Act, the Renewable Heat Standard and the Clean Heat Standard to provide relief on affordability issues, protect private property rights and individual rights, and to study potential reforms based on the latest scientific data. We should be doing that with respect to all of the legislation we're considering, ladies and gentlemen. So I want to get a little bit more into some more detail. So some of the people who may not know and may want to, first of all, you might want to check out this book. I'm holding it up for the camera here. Inconvenient Facts: The Science That Al Gore Doesn't Want You to Know by Gregory Wrightstone. Great book, got a lot of good information, and it's footnoted. All the stuff is referenced. I just want to give just another list of bullet points here. The greenhouse effect on planet Earth is necessary for life on the planet. The primary greenhouse gas in Earth's atmosphere is water vapor. 95% of the greenhouse effect is produced by water vapor, clouds, and humidity. Only 4% is produced by CO2, and the remaining 1% is caused by trace gases, most notably ozone. The concentration of carbon dioxide gas in Earth's atmosphere is 0.04%. Earth's atmosphere is approximately 78% nitrogen, 21% oxygen, 0.93% argon, and the rest is small amounts of trace gases, including approximately 430 parts per million, or 0.043% carbon dioxide. The small concentration of carbon dioxide in Earth's atmosphere has varied greatly in the geological time records, from as high as 8%, 80,000 parts per million, to as little as 0.018%, 180 parts per million. The concentration of carbon dioxide gas that is toxic to life is 5%. We're nowhere near there. Nowhere near. CO2 becomes toxic to animals above concentrations of 5%, or 50,000 parts per million. We are at roughly 400 parts per million, so very, very low. Room ventilation standards permit CO2 concentrations up to 1,000 to 2,000 parts per million. At 4,000 to 5,000 parts per million, a person could start to feel the effects of drowsiness. The minimum concentration of CO2 required to support life as we know it is 0.015%. Atmospheric CO2 is what plants breathe and is required by all plant life. The CO2 concentration required to support plant life is 0.015%, 150 parts per million. At the end of each ice age record, we are dangerously close to the 150 part per million plant extinction CO2 concentration level, hitting 182 parts per million at the end of the most recent ice age record. The increase in Earth's average surface temperature, and that is a very controversial term, over the past 100 years correlates with an increase in the concentration of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere. CO2 increase follows the temperature increase. That is what's important. The temperature increases first, and then the CO2 comes out, because most of the CO2 is in our oceans. The Vostok ice core drilled in Antarctica provides a detailed record of past climate and atmospheric composition over the last 420,000 years. It reveals that climate has always been changing, but within stable bounds. The core also shows a strong correlation between temperature and CO2 levels, which means they rise and fall together. Interestingly, based on Antarctic ice core data, changes in CO2 follow changes in temperature by about 600 to 1,000 years. The temperature change occurs first, then the CO2 concentration changes. Thus, CO2 does not seem to drive temperature change, but it follows it. The majority of Earth's carbon dioxide is stored in its oceans. 75% of the Earth's surface is water. CO2 dissolves in water. The oceans are the primary sink and source of CO2. In fact, cooler water dissolves more CO2. The natural cause and effect relationship between CO2 and ocean surface temperature is such that increasing ocean surface temperature emits CO2 into the atmosphere as warmer water can't retain the dissolved CO2. This explains the increase in CO2 after the increase in temperature. And you can demonstrate this to yourself. Put a bottle of seltzer water on the counter that's just come out of the refrigerator. Open the bottle and watch all the gas come to the surface. As it warms, more gas is going to come out of your bottle of seltzer. At the atmosphere's current CO2 concentration, an increase in CO2 causes a corresponding increase in plant life. Multi-decade studies at the Duke University School of Forestry show that doubling CO2 concentration increases plant growth efficiency by 35%. So the green movement to reduce CO2 is actually anti-green. So I just wanted to give you a bunch more information, data, research. This can be verified. There are places on social media you can go. You can do an internet search on all the names and research, names of the researchers and the organizations, and find this. This is something you will be able to find and read on your own. These are not made up numbers. I'm not trying to be hyperbolic. I'm not trying to scare people. I'm trying to actually, especially with respect to young people who've been scared by this climate alarmism, I'm trying to reduce their anxiety because it's unfounded. It's completely unfounded. So I just needed that to be out there. Let me see. One more thing. I wanted to thank, ladies and gentlemen, you know that I talk about, I quote from articles from FYVT.com all the time. And I want to thank Dave Sulia for doing an article on H767, a moratorium on mandates Vermonters can't afford. And he basically goes over and reviews my testimony my introduction to the House Committee on Energy and Digital Infrastructure on January 30th, beginning at 11:45 a.m. this past Friday. He covers it, I think, very well. If you'd like to check out that article, as well as going on the Vermont.gov website to check out the bill itself. I've got one more little thing to cover. There is a move. There's a bill apparently that's working. It doesn't have a number right now, but apparently it's in the Senate. This is an article that I found on Vermont Daily Chronicle, dated February 2, 2026. Farmers push back against town control. And this is regarding a recent Supreme Court decision. To grow or not to grow? That is the question that the Senate Agricultural Committee is taking on with its newest bill that challenges a ruling of the Vermont Supreme Court that opened the door to allow towns to regulate agriculture, even gardens and backyard chickens. Now, let me just let me see here. Okay. Let's see. And this information he refers to came from goldendome.com, the General Assembly website. The committee hopes to turn back the clock by clarifying the area of law that the court used in the ruling, known as the, quote, Taft Street, T-A-F-T Street ruling. It hinges on the court's interpretations of 24 VSA subsection 4413D1. The language in the bill makes very clear the intention of the legislature that towns should not be regulating agriculture. As stated in early sections of the draft bill, quote, to avoid the unchecked and unintended consequences of the decisions in the RE 8 Taft Street, DRB, and November appeals, 2025 VT 27. It is necessary for the General Assembly to clarify and restate that municipalities under ordinance or bylaw shall not regulate farming or the construction of farm structures as set forth in 24 VSA subsection 4413D. 4413D. This part of the bill would also expressly prohibit municipal regulation of growing plants and raising poultry except roosters. The bill doesn't currently have a number and is still a work in progress in the committee, but initial discussion suggests that the changes it proposes may face opposition on the floor in either the Senate or House that could backfire for its supporters. There are currently 26 sections in a 45-page draft, and they cover areas including income tax exemptions for net farm profits up to $10,000, tax exemptions for the sale of farms to relatives or employees of 10 years, changing the threshold for permitting on-farm accessory businesses, changing the definition of agricultural land to include land where a certain amount of crops are donated, creating a new class of food manufacturing establishments for on-farm production. Let's see. And a section that covers the same issues with solar permitting is Representative Gregory Burt's Bill H677, as reported by Vermont Daily Chronicle on January 29. So, ladies and gentlemen, you might want to check out this article. Like I said, Farmers Push Back Against Town Control, dated February 2, 2026, Vermont Daily Chronicle. We, unfortunately, are going to be running out of time here. I want to thank everybody for listening. I want to thank my two guests, both Rebecca and Stephanie from Vermont Federation of Republican Women, for coming on and explaining their organization and their event. Remember, ladies and gentlemen, stay informed, stay safe, listen to Right Side Up.